this young lady, we have another teacher. That was all we get? We have another teacher. Awesome. But when I ask y'all something cool, she was so cool. She likes to create historical costumes so that she can wear them to protests. And her favorite, I say, hey, what's your favorite costume? 1780 to 1790 French costumes. Very specific. Had to write it. The 1791 is garbage. No, 1780 to 1790 French costumes. And she wore one recently, right? Yeah, and it was funny because this is what I also love about y'all. When we were sitting there talking about it, her eyes lit up, and you could have talked about that for hours. It's so cool. Y'all ready for some more smartness? All righty, make a whole lot of noise for Miss Jen Looper.
So we were talking about costume from 1780s. I made this outfit, and I thought maybe you'd like to see it. It's one of those nerdy things. You know, we all go deep diving into our weird hobbies. I did a photo shoot in front of a chateau in France, and it was one of those great moments of my life. So that was a wonderful moment. I've also worn these to the No Kings rally. I have a sign that says "Hussies for Liberty," and because this is a pink that respectable women would not have worn that color of pink. So we're just going to deep dive into hussydom and enjoy. But anyway, so I want to talk today about the cozy web, and I'm deep diving into another hobby of mine, which is French literature. I used to be a French teacher, and my specialty is actually 13th century French romance. This is a book from about 1917. We're going to talk about À la recherche du temps perdu, which is a very famous novel by Proust, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before I start on that, please, everybody take a look at your badge. You've got a QR code back here, and there's a small challenge, and we're going to do a drawing tomorrow, and we'll be able to win maybe the PS5, I think it is. There's also what I like to call labubus, but everybody else calls them unicorns, and you can help yourself to unicorns or socks. I'm from Cloudinary, and my name's Jen. I'm the Director of Developer Relations at Cloudinary, and I'm really happy to see you today. It's a real great pleasure on my part. I put a badge on these slides because I'm not messing around with AI. Okay, so let's just go to the next slide. Okay, fabulous, right. So this talk is a celebration of wasting time. So all of this is in an age of AI. We're in this age of AI. We're at this moment. You can take maybe a few seconds just to step back and think about the way things used to be. À la recherche du temps perdu is this famous novel by Proust, and it's a loose translation of looking for time lost, looking for eras lost that we can barely remember. Time, looking for wasted time. So it doesn't translate very well into English, but that's the gist of it. So today we're going to talk about dark forests versus the cozy web. We're going to talk about streams of consciousness and the modern web, where we're going. I want to talk a little bit about AI and media. Cloudinary is a platform that deals with media, so heck, let's just slide that right on in there with the sponsorship. Why not? Let's talk about media a little bit. And I want to talk at the end about a call to, not arms, but a call to warm hugs. So I wore my famous unicorn costume, which actually works great. Cloudinary, we're all about unicorns. So I thought that would be a fun thing to wear. Let's go back and talk about this 100-plus-year-old novel. When we think of a novel, we think of a little paperback piece. Well, back in those days, that was not necessarily the case. These are usually done in serials. You know, they're done for many iterations in a newspaper, perhaps. But this one was written in about 1913, between 1913 and 1927, and it actually holds the Guinness World Record for the longest novel. There's something like over 1 million words, and some genius hero has published unepagedeproust.org, the entire 13 books within this long novel on one page of the internet. It's amazing. And you can scrape it and do some amazing data mining actually as well. So, but this is something, this is one of the great classics of modern, very modern and modernist French literature. It's completely comprised of streams of consciousness and just diversions and wandering around, and things will trigger your memory, and you'll get excited about something just by having a little taste of something. So this is a book that's all about sensorial experiences and how they trigger involuntary memory. And Proust was really digging deep into the concept of involuntary memory. I think he was friends with Freud. They were hanging out at the same time. There's a lot of burgeoning ideas of the subconscious mind at this era. Also remember, this is written between around 1919 was the first time that the first book of the novel was released. Think about what was happening in France at that time. That's right when World War I is winding down, is between the wars. We're starting up a new war pretty soon, but France was decimated. If you ever go to France and you look at the monuments, the big ones are for World War I. By the time they got to World War II, people like to criticize France for what happened during World War II, but honestly, there was not a lot of resources that were available. I'm gonna read this excerpt to you, and just sit back and relax and let it wash over you. If you can read in the original French, I really strongly recommend it. It's wonderful at night, just a few pages at a time. When I'm like 3,000 years old, I'll probably be done with it. But it's a wonderful thing to reread. So let me just read this to you. One day in winter, as I came home, offered me some tea, a thing I did not ordinarily take. I declined at first, and then for no particular reason, changed my mind. She sent out for one of those short, plump little cakes called Petite Madeleine, which look as though they'd been molded in the fluted scallop of a pilgrim's shell. And soon, mechanically, after a dull day, with the prospect of a depressing morrow, I raised to my lips a spoonful of the tea in which I'd soaked a morsel of the cake, and no sooner had the liquid and the crumbs with it palate than a shudder ran through my whole body. ... more text that I chopped out, and suddenly the memory returns. The taste was that of the little crumb of Madeleine, which on Sunday morning at Combray, when I went to say good day to her in her bedroom, my Aunt Léonie used to give me, dipping it first in her own cup of real or of lime flower tea. So this is a very, very famous excerpt from À la Recherche du Temps Perdu, where he's remembering, he takes a little taste of something and it floods him with memories. And I'm just wonder if in your life you've experienced this kind of thing. There's this particular smell of burnt rubber that takes me right back to when I was a student in France, because that's the smell of the subway. So I don't know if you have these kind of moments. Think about these moments where memories are just triggered and what that feels like. So I just put this slide in because this is a great classic of French literature, but it was very poorly received when it first came out. It was, landed in 1919, couldn't find a publisher. One of the critics, it was just rejected outright. One of the critics said, perhaps I am dense. I just don't understand why a man takes 30 pages to describe himself turning over in bed. And this is a real excerpt of the book. It takes 30 pages to describe, turning over in bed. It's extremely long-winded. But of course, it did become this kind of masterpiece of French language. I'm just gonna make this a little bit bigger if I can. Okay. So, questions to ponder for this talk. Does anything you come across in your work make you just stop and take stock of what you've been doing over the past years? And I don't want to make this a talk for those of us who started in the web in the year 2000, but maybe there are these moments you come across an interface or an NPM package or some kind of interesting image that you're looking at on the web, and it just takes you back. And how does that make you feel? Because right now we're living in what I would term a Proustian moment. A real Proustian moment is that trigger of memory, but in this context, a Proustian moment is that kind of stepping back moment when we realize we've built our careers alongside the rise of the internet. I've been doing this for 25 years, but we're watching this profound change right now in the field, and what the internet even signifies, what it even means. What is the internet even, what is this thing even doing? What is it for, and who runs it? Who is running the show, and what's going on behind the scenes? And I wonder if you ever have nostalgia, looking back at what we used to build, the kind of wild stuff we used to build, and the weird streams of consciousness that we used to enjoy. And I'd like to ask whether you think we should take some steps. Do you want to maybe consider taking steps to reclaim what we ourselves have constructed? Because things are changing to a point, I think, that developers are kind of, in a way, losing a little bit of control, I think, in favor of algorithmic decisions that are being made and big corporations. And fun fact, I work for Microsoft and I work for AWS. And it's a laugh riot, I'll tell you. Okay, so keep the Madeleine moment in mind, and you can think about these Proustian digressions where he's wandering around and he smells something or tastes something and it triggers his memory. Every single time that memory is triggered, he is brought back to a person. He was brought back to that auntie who gave him those cookies. And he always his digressions bring him back to a person. And maybe this is something we can learn from with this book. So let's talk about some concepts of what the web signifies as it's been constructed over the years. So Maggie Appleton has written a really interesting article. It's not recent, it's pretty old, but she's still talking about it, and people are still talking about this concept of the three technical layers of the web. We have, from a technical standpoint, we have the clear web, the deep web, and the dark web. We don't mess with the dark web, right? But we're inhabiting the clear web, which is a place where we've got adware and spyware and increasingly a lot of AI happening. We've got things being pushed at us, being posted at us. And so a lot of us tend to lurk not so much in the clear web. We move into the cozy web, what she calls the cozy web, which is an aspect of the deeper web. So the way people are constructing the idea of the cozy web is a place where we retreat. We don't want to deal with the trolls that are lurking in the forest of the clear web. We don't want that dark forest. We want to go into the cozy web, into our little spaces where we feel safe. So if you can think about some of the spaces on the web where you go to meet friends, to interact with people, what does that feel like for you? It's a different mental model. The concept of the web is a social construct. So in the dark forest of the clear web populated by trolls, it's unsafe. It's unsafe to reveal yourself to them in any authentic way, right? We've all been dunked on Stack Overflow, right? It's not a laugh. It's not real fun. So what we do is we retreat into these private spaces and we hide in the cozy web. Anybody remember web rings? Yeah. So it was this concept that people would register themselves within a website and then you'd be inhabiting the nav, and then that would be your safe space. You kind of find your friends and hang out and wander. That's an old school cozy web. It's still around. I think a modern cozy web, or a newer cozy web, or something like Reddit, where you can find, it's more open, but you can certainly find your people on these little spaces. There's r/aw, which is a place where you can find cute memes. I like Ravelry. If anybody's a knitter or a crocheter, anybody doing crafts, this is a really cool place, but it's behind the login. You've got to log in, and it's being monitored. So this is definitely a space where we are pretty safe. We can hang out with our friends, and we can just exchange the recipes, exchange the patterns, find our people. I think Blue Sky is actually a little bit of a cozy web aspect. It's pretty gated. You need to be logging in, and it's that liberal enclave. That's where I'm hanging out. And I can tell you that what I post on Blue Sky, I would never post on Twitter. So, because I'm very political on Blue Sky and it's in my safe space. My manager's on there too, but that's a different story. And I want to ask you whether you think that the concept of the cozy web is a cop-out. Are we just retreating from our responsibility in the clear web to make ourselves understood and heard? We talked earlier in another talk about the ethics that developers need to be inserting into the work. We need to be speaking up and owning this work. And I kind of feel like that kind of gated aspect of the cozy web is a bit of a cop-out. And of course, Proust always has something to say about this. He says, no exile at the separates us more effectively from others than the practice of a hidden vice. My hidden vice is crocheting, right? That is practicing a thought different from theirs. So you're finding these enclaves and you're hiding away. And maybe, just maybe, retreating into the cozy web is just retreating back into a smaller set of groupthink. And maybe that's not great for us. Maybe we should kind of think about busting out a little bit from this aspect. And one reason I think that the cozy web became popular and is becoming more and more interesting is that we've lost our third spaces. We're losing our third spaces, right? Libraries are closing. I'm looking desperately for a place tonight where I can hear blues. I'm having trouble. I know it's midweek, but I really want to, I'm in Mississippi. I want to go to a third space and hear some great blues. I'm having trouble. Maybe you can help me. So we're trying to recreate these things online. I think Scratch has done a really nice job. It's a good, cozy space. that's moderated and kids can jump in and they can collaborate and work together. I think that's lovely, and it's created by the great people at MIT who run the Lifelong Kindergarten. That's a great, great group. So there are some beads of light that we can look at, right? But you yourself can create cozy experiences. I created this. If you go to claradenari.com, you'll find the pun. I work at Cloudinary, that's the hint. So Clara Denari is a mashup between Carmen Sandiego and Nancy Drew. So this is someone who is solving mysteries, and you're doing Cloudinary transformations by solving mysteries. But it's channeling that idea of an old school text-based game, and I did this at Microsoft too. We had the Azure Maya mystery, the Azure Space mystery, and the Azure Mystery Mansion. And it's all about, learning about something by means of a nostalgic interface. Great way to learn, super cozy. So take a look at this, it's good fun. So we're in the business of finding like-minded people. This is a group of like-minded people. We found it, we've created a little cozy space for ourselves with that bread pudding. It's way cozy, and I'm feeling super cozy right now. But are we really allowing ourselves to wander in a Proustian way, to kind of find our stream of consciousness and just wander around and discover new kinds of people and new streams of thought? I think with the advent of AI, we're at risk of losing that completely. That's my hot take of the moment. I think that what AI is doing is taking a lot of streams of consciousness and amalgamating it into one, smashing it up, mashing it up, and that's the truth. That's your locus of truth. I don't like that. I don't find it diverse. I don't find it particularly interesting. I find it bland. So, and I don't work at Microsoft or AWS anymore, and I can say these things, so rock on. So I just feel like AI is edging us towards conformity, and I think that's really risky. I think it's also risky for our democracy. So let's talk a little bit on the light side. Anybody visited the useless web recently? Let's see if I can do this. I don't know if this is going to work. I guess we won't be doing this demo unless I can figure out how to escape. Let's see. Oh, it's over here, okay. Now I've completely lost it, and there goes my flow. Guys. Anybody give me a hand on the display here? Oh, okay, back to Canva. Why does it do this to me? So I can't open up a website here. Can I do this one?
Oh, if you open a website,
open a website?
You have to drag it back over
to
the other.
I drag it over here?
Because they only see what's on this screen.
Yeah. So I should get off full screen? Apologize.
Yes, and drag the other way.
The other way, yeah.
There you go.
Hey, the useless web. This is so interesting. Okay, the useless web. Anybody been to the useless web recently? Let's go to a useless website. What is this? This is Mindsquare. I have no idea how to play this.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Let's try a different one. I'm waiting for the pug to come up. Oh, this is, you can make a Mondrian. Right? Let's look at click and drag to paint with words. Yeah. One more. Oh my gosh, what is this, corn dogs? It's corndog.io. Think of all the useless crap we used to build. Oh gosh, sorry, that's flashing images. Okay. Anyway, so these are these amazing moments where we were able to just waste time and just like create useless crap, which is great. But sometimes you yourself can create amazing useless crap by going to a site like this one. It's mmm.page. Anybody looked at this recently? You can create this. This was a little celebration that an owl. I was sitting on my couch and an owl came to visit me, and so I created a little web page. Here I created one because I was coming to Mississippi and I wanted to kind of make a little scrapbook for myself. It's this beautiful design, don't you think? And you can, it's just completely free. You just make little scrapbooks for yourselves. So completely useless and pointless, and I love it. So, okay, now back to where I was. Let's see. I doubt this is going to work. So that's the useless web. Okay. Okay. I'll tell you what, nobody cares if it's perfect or not. I'll just go like this. Okay. Great. Sorry, folks. All right. Good. This is going to be exciting because I'm now on the other screen. Works. Now, why is everything so incredibly conformist at this point? Is it Tailwind's fault? Is it Bootstrap? Did we just get lazy and start creating these kind of identical UIs that stops us from creating interesting interfaces? Possibly. But like I was mentioning, there's this new consciousness on the block, right? And this is our pal, the AI agent. So we're just outsourcing our brain and we're telling AI agents, just create something. So wasn't there someone, Josh, you were going to create a new logo? So all AI logos look like buttholes. They all do. So, I mean, we're at this point. It's ridiculous, but they all look the same. And there's a great talk by Wes Boss. He has this little YouTube channel, big YouTube channel, and he's talking about how all the entire internet driven by AI is purple. It's all purple. And he was asking whether Barney had done a huge VC raise, because it looks like all the websites are done by Barney. So we're just at this moment of great conformity. This was a really interesting bit of study I was doing about the conformity of design these days. Look at all these logos and how they used to look, and look at them now. So tech has gone from, Revolut, Facebook, and Google, and then now it's just text. Same thing with fashion. Even Balenciaga, even Burberry, they got rid of, any kind of human aspect, any visually interesting aspect, and now it's just bland. I decry the bland. However, we had a great moment recently, right? You remember this? I had never had Cracker Barrel until like 2 nights ago, so this is exciting. We don't have it in Boston. Backlash, right? This huge backlash because they took the human out of the logo and they created this strange, yellow and black situation, and it was a huge backlash, and they rolled it back quickly. Actually, take a look at what the KFC is doing to their logo right now. It's interesting as well. But logos are important because it's like that emblem of the brand. And so I'm excited because that was a third space that reconnected with its people and took it back. They had enough. So I think that's a really good motif and a moment. So let's talk about AI, media, and us. So here's an interesting quote. As always, there's something he says that means something to us. So I love this idea that, we have this overarching consciousness that's lurking in the background of AI, but Proust would have hated that, right? Because this is what he wanted. The only true journey would not be to go towards new landscapes, but to have other eyes, to see the universe with the eyes of another, of 100 others, to see the 100 universes that each of them sees and that each of them is. It's a beautiful kind of telescoping of a reality that he's really pushing. And it's really a permission to innovate. It's a permission to see differently. And it harks back to the original vision of the web. Remember Tim Berners-Lee paper, his paper had this kind of idea of all different nodes interconnecting, and that would be the web. And the comment was, ooh, vague but exciting. So people were open-minded to these things at the time. And by 1993, guess what? We had the birth of the visual web. That was a great moment because all of a sudden we can use media to tell the story. And media allows us to, allow people to see with our eyes and to experience different kinds of visions. It was beautiful back in the day. And we, as webmasters, this is my first professional website, isn't it great? About 2002, and thank God we've got Wayback Machine and the Web Archive. If you have any idea of donating to anything, donate to the Web Archive so they can keep these things alive. So this was my first interface, and yes, I was the web mistress, and they said, do something about the web, and here's an original design, and I said, that's hideous, we're gonna do something nice. And it's not terrible, right? It's not terrible. It's a lot of TR, and a lot of images as clickable buttons that are completely inaccessible, but that was 2002, and who the heck knew what they were doing at that age? So, but But it allowed us, we had that moment where we were allowed to insert ourselves into our corporate structures, even as visionaries. That was a great moment. We can take it back, guys and ladies. So we have a choice. Now we're having talks that are being given about the death of the browser. And we're having this concept of new AI companies pushing new browsers at us. This is Comet. Anybody use Comet, the new browser by Perplexity? And then OpenAI just came out with a new one as well, and it's basically bundling up in a browser-esque simulation prompting so that you can get, it's very, in my opinion, it's very devoid of human intervention. It just is giving kind of regurgitated and amalgamated ideas of the topic that you're trying to search for. I don't love it. There's another tool that we have now, though, back to the idea of media. We can reclaim the humanity embedded in the images that we use. I really think this is interesting. This is about content provenance and authenticity. There are some badging that we can start doing, and we're gonna have to start doing it in some markets. Like China is starting to oblige you to label things as AI generated. But with the C2PA standard and with Cloudinary, we have a transformation that you can embed. You can have these badges embedded in your images saying, this is where it was here at this point in time. It was changed by this person using this tool, and it looks like this now, and here's what it looks like now. So we're starting to reclaim a little bit the human interventions that went into the things that we're trying to create. Very interesting. So last bit, this is a call to arms. It's not a call to arms, it's a call to warm hugs. So I should put my unicorn hat back on, except it's kind of toasty. I love this picture of Proust. He usually is in pictures looking very emo because he's kind of a downer kind of guy. But I love this. He's just having fun with a little kid, and he's playing his tennis racket like a mandolin. It's lovely. And we can really recreate, and we can really think about going in down these rabbit holes of recollection and channeling nostalgia as a way to reconnect with humans and valorize our collective consciousnesses in the plural. Just a quick, I think we need to watch out if we're going to drown in nostalgia. We don't want to go back to the bad old days like my interface where you're using images that don't how that you're clicking on those things. We don't have to go back to that moment. But like Proust said, the memory of a certain image is the regret of a certain. This is something we want to go back to. At least you can get some inspiration from these moments of nostalgia, I think. And remember the people that were cool. I remember very well when I was working at that company, every time we did an event, the DBA would scream, break out the depends, every time he would refresh the database. It's just like, and he had a whole sound system of stupid toilet flushing sounds. It was so stupid. But I look at and his silly sound effects whenever we did a deployment. So think about the people. Just an invitation, build your own digital gardens. Maybe it clips into what we were talking about earlier about your side projects. Maybe they're nostalgic, maybe they're innovative, maybe there's something different. Here's Proust with a nice buzz cut hanging out with his friends. So this is my call to action for you. Let's reclaim the web for our own, and let's create a new kind of cozy web, not a retreat from the clear web, from that dark forest, but reclaiming that dark forest for ourselves, right? Full of inclusive human interactions and it's kind of self-sustainable. Maybe we can get rid of some of the adware and the spyware and the intrusive algorithms. I don't know what the finances of that look like, right? What would it look like? We're the ones who are going to build it. So I invite you to the dance. Thank you so much. That's me.